Hi there. um, I just want to do a little talk. Um, Probably quite a big talk, especially those that aren't familiar with, well, the common sense logic to understand that all things have to come from nothing. Um, and for religious people, it's really they can't grasp this because religious people don't have their own mind. You know, the worst kind of trolls that I've ever came in contact with or have followed me have been religious nutcases. You know, and religious nutcases are not speaking from their own mind. In fact, they don't even know what their own mind is. They are speaking from stuff based on a religion. And all religions are man-made. Religions are man-made ideas. Right? And it's all nonsense. You know, what happened to me was I had an unexpected spiritual awakening just under 10 years ago. And I started to perceive the nothing. I never thought of it before. And I started to perceive that there has to be a nothingness before you can have a something. And it's common sense logic, yeah. And then you realise that, okay, so if you have a start point, people say you have to have there has to be a creator. Okay. But what about before that creator existed? You have to have nothing. So then you realise that the nothingness is the creator. Right? The nothingness is the beginning and end of everything. Right? It's the beginning and the end of everything. Which means it is everything. It's the all that is. And nothingness is just pure infinite potential. It's endless. With no point or anything. Because it itself doesn't actually exist. What does this all mean? It means that all we're really going through is you can't exist then, but you know, life is just a dream then. Because you don't exist if you come from nothing. So, and this is common logic that starts to happen when you start going through that awakening. You start to perceive things like as simple as that. And then you realise that religions are made up to get us away from the idea that there's a nothing at some stage. Because if people perceive that there's nothing, then they will start to live in the present. Right? Because they think that this is all there is. And they'll start to create an amazing life for themselves in the present moment. Instead of waiting for nothing. You know, but like I say, the internet trolls are the worst going. Yeah, the religious internet trolls. You know, they don't even, you look at them and they call you mental. They call you insane. They say that you're nonsense. But they're wanting you to believe in their perspective. But their perspective or a person's perspective is one perspective. There are at least nearly 8 billion more perspectives on this planet alone. And yet they're saying that you're nonsense. And this is an example of the madness of religion. My mum used to do psychic shows when I was a kid growing up, being of travelling gypsy people. And these Christians used to come to the shows and call her the devil. That's an example. This is what religious people, not all religious people, but a lot of them are insane. And you realise that whatever force they're following isn't very holy, isn't very loving, isn't unconditional love. Right? They talk about love and they talk about God, but that's not what they present. They present hate. Right? They present distaste if you don't believe in what they believe in. They will insult you to try and impose their beliefs onto you, to get you to conform and obey to their beliefs. And like Osho once said, do you know Osho is considered one of the most spiritual beings of all time? And Osho once said, "There is no God." Now, why do you think all these ascended people say that? Because they are more intelligent than you are. They are so intelligent that they're able to see the obvious, which you can't see. Because only a fool would let themselves be bought by an idea, a man-made idea, which religion is. Only a fool would allow them to fall into such a trap. And it is a trap. A trap set up by man. That's what it is. And then what the system does is it pretends that it doesn't like religion. This is classic counterintelligence. One of the methods it's a military method, counterintelligence. It's used to control society and win wars. And this is really why it's obvious to me that this is why religion was invented. Religion, I think, is a counterintelligence operation being used against us. But that's for another video. But yeah, everything has to come from nothing. Buddhism talks about this. Buddhism talks about nothingness. Everything has to come from nothing, and it's basically Buddha was obviously going through a spiritual awakening process. But it's just plain logic. But I didn't start to think of this stuff until I started having when I started to have this awakening, which was completely unexpected. I started to realise that we're just awareness with no form. Like science can prove how everything is just energetic and no form to it. Science also has a computer machinery thing where they can actually go back to the Big Bang and the computer tells them that there's nothing. But you don't even need to have a computer or science to know that. It's common sense. There has to be a nothingness at some point. Right? And if that's the case, then like I say, that means that the nothing is the beginning and end of all things. It also means there is no beginning and end. It means that everything is just pure infinity in the present moment. And religious people, what religion has done to them, what I notice from observing them, is that they can't perceive this common sense logic that there has to be a nothingness at some stage. It's like it's like their ego, because the ego doesn't want to face nothingness because it's terrified of not existing. Because the ego is the false self anyway. And that's why the ego is all about fear. And it's very fearful, and religion gets people in their egos. They're terrified of not having this saviour that doesn't exist. Like what John Lennon once said, God is a concept by which we measure our pain. And I think what that means is it means that it's an idea, a man-made idea, and we cling to these ideas because of inner fears within us. Right? And so we want God to fix it all. Humans are like little children. Unconscious humans are like little children that are afraid of standing on their own 2 feet. And so they cling to their government, they cling to religions, they cling to their past. anything but to face the present moment, and that the only thing that really is real is the present. What is present with us right now? That's the only thing we have, and the only place we ever are is in the present. But all these ideas made up by man creates different illusions in our heads. But yeah, there's everything comes from nothing, and that, you know, I watched a science professor a few months ago on YouTube. He done a like a TV documentary, and he says even scientists, we can't define what is nothing. He says you can't define it. He says you can try, but how can you? Because it's so infinite and vast. You can't. It's limitless. But it's you can't explain it because it's just not it's not limited like our perceptions. And when you're tapping into the nothingness, you're tapping into the core of all life. Because like I say, all life comes from nothing. All life is nothing. Right? Endless, and there's no duality there. It's just a non-dual. A non-dual nothing, which merely just perceives itself, but as separate. It's like you looking into a mirror and seeing yourself, but you in an illusion that the two are separate entities. But when in actual fact, you're just looking into the same mirror in your own dream. Think of it, what can come from nothing? It's just a dream. You can't have real within a nothing, you can only have a dream. Or can you? Because remember, like I say, infinite nothingness is just pure infinite potential. Meaning there's endless possibilities of what can be. And this is why a person should not get stuck into their own beliefs. When you're stuck into your own beliefs, pause for a minute and think, wait a minute here. There's infinite potential of what could be. You know? We live our lives, most people live their lives from a tiny perspective of what can be. That they're not able to imagine any outside things. So when someone comes away with a brand new perspective, they call them crazy. They say they're speaking nonsense. But no, it's just a different perspective to yours. Who in their right mind, within nearly 8 billion people on the planet, can define what's right and wrong and what's this and what's the other? I think it's madness. You know, like I say, everything is just made up by people. Once you have a something from a nothing, every point after that, everything is just made up by someone. If you look around you right now, everything that you can see around you was created by somebody. This is common sense logic. This is all that spiritual awakening done to me. It got me out of my nonsense mind, which is the false self, the ego self, and it got me into pure common sense logic. That's what awakening does, because you're in the present moment. And you're going by pure common sense in the present moment instead of complete insanity and complete madness, which is just things that you've read in a book, things that someone else has told you, of all of which are invented. And that's what this, and you can have that awakening right now by simply, like I say all the time, it's all about being present. And then your common sense logic will start to kick in. The asleep person, the unconscious human, does not have common sense logic. It's complete. Their logic has been overtaken by all the outside ideas that are created by man. But they fail to realise, like in this video, everything comes from nothing, therefore it still is nothing. You don't exist. But I'm just going to leave it there. For latest updates and videos, etc., please do visit my website at www.lovelifefamily.com. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you.